Drew Brees, first ballot Hall of Famer, and joining us on behalf of Stretch Zone, a brand new research study that we'll talk to him about. How important was first ballot to you?
You know what? I think all of this is still pretty surreal. I don't think as a kid you necessarily sit there and think about, Hall of Fame. I think at that point you're just thinking, I just want to play this sport for as long as I can. I love playing it. I love being a part of the team. Maybe I can play in college someday. Maybe I can play in the NFL someday. And then all of a sudden you play 20 years and the numbers add up to the point where, people think it justifies you being a first ballot Hall of Famer. So, I mean, honestly, I just have such a respect and a reverence for the game and for the opportunity to play it for so long and try to make my mark on the game and leave it better than when I found it.
But you defy the odds, because if I said, hey, he's not 6'4", not 6'5", in an era where everybody had to be 6'4", 6'5" in college, you're 6 feet and you're not a runner. Like, it doesn't add up. Like, how did you beat the odds to be able to throw for 60,000 yards?
Well, if you recall, you had me on your show about, 10 years ago at the Super Bowl, and I think we went through my draft reading where it did say I was a runner. It was saying I would run through people. I didn't know how to make them miss.
It said a tough runner. A tough runner.
that was 20 pounds ago, and I was playing in the Big Ten, had to bulk up, honestly, I take pride in that. I take pride in being, call it a 6-foot quarterback, maybe being a little bit undersized. I always felt like I had something to prove. I had a chip on my shoulder. I mean, I don't know what it's like to be 6'5". Do those guys have better vision? Can they see up over the line of scrimmage? And, it's like a whole new world up there, I bet, in that stratosphere. I mean, I always felt like, honestly, this is the way I've always described it, is if you close your eyes, so you take away, your visual sense, all of a sudden your sense of hearing is heightened, and your sense of smell, and your just sense of awareness and feeling of what's around you. That's probably the best way to describe maybe playing the quarterback position in the pocket amongst a world of giants, where at times maybe you can't necessarily see exactly where you're throwing the football, but you can feel what's around you, and you can sense the depth of the linebacker and then the safety over the top. And you know that receiver is going to be rolling that cut in at 15 yards, and your feet are telling you it's time to turn the ball loose, right? And you let it go and you just lay it to that spot. And then it's like poetry in motion. It hits him in the hands and it's, first down, and then you're on to the next play to do it again. So, like, I can't tell you how many times that was playing the quarterback position where you wouldn't necessarily always see it, but it didn't mean that you couldn't feel it or that you couldn't visualize it.
Let me put you in Drake May's position on Sunday. And what would you have done differently as far as protections or philosophy of when you get the ball out? Like, what are you doing differently when you see what Seattle's doing?
Well, first off, that defense was as good as there was in this league, all year long, that Seattle defense. They could rush the passer. They had a ton of skill on the back end as well. And I can't give enough credit to Mike McDonald and kind of just what he built with that system and with that team. At the end of the day, when you're playing a pass rush like that, there is a premium to finding ways to get the ball out. Just trying to get the ball on the perimeter to guys where it's one-on-one. Maybe they have a chance to just get you 3-4 yards. I think you just have to be okay with the fact that you may not get a ton of explosive plays because you're not going to have the chance to hold the ball very long. And you mix in you got to run the ball effectively. You got to get on the perimeter, and then you kind of pick and choose your slots to throw in a play action to try to push the ball down the field. But you have to be okay with more of a ball control. There's a premium on not having negative plays, not giving up sacks, because you get a 3rd and long against that defense, like, you're done, and so play the field position battle a little bit. Look, early on, your defense was playing really well too. They were holding Seattle to a bunch of field goals, so you were keeping the game close, but they just needed to cash in a few more times and just not give up so many negative plays.
We're talking to first ballot Hall of Famer Drew Brees. When were you told you guys were going to open up your Super Bowl the second half with an onside kick?
So Sean Payton had nicknamed that play ambush. And I'm literally the first meeting of, because it was 2 week lead time from NFC Championship to Super Bowl. Literally the first meeting we come in and it's like, hey, here's the practice schedule, blah blah blah, and oh by the way, we have this onside kick. It's called ambush. It's not a matter of if we're going to call it, but when. So get ready, and it has to work.
So it
like
wasn't
right
score. It wasn't score dependent. You're opening up the second half.
Yeah, it was all look, and this is part of the greatness of Sean Payton. It's just the instincts and just feeling the flow of a game and the momentum and just knowing the right time to call it. And again, he said it wasn't a matter of if, it was when. Like, when are we going to do this? We're going to call it. And if you recall the way that game started with the Colts, they came right out, scored on their first two possessions. They were up 10-0. And then we calmed it down a little bit in the second quarter. We got a field goal, 2 field goals before half. And so Sean felt like, okay, we now have the momentum. We're kicking off in the second half. They're kind of resetting themselves on the other side because we had, staged a little bit of this comeback. So he's like, this is when they'll never expect it. So much of an onside kick is you do it when nobody thinks you're going to do it, right? In the Super Bowl, biggest stage, coming out of halftime, you have all the momentum, and it was the perfect time to do
it. And it could have gone wrong. It could have gone really wrong.
But again, a great sign of leadership is instilling confidence, right, and belief in your team and making it feel like it's work. I mean, he told us, again, very first meeting, we are going to call this, and it has to work. It will work.
But you knew going out the start of the second half that ambush is on.
Well, and here's the great thing, too, is he intentionally kicked the ball the direction he kicked it, knowing that here Thomas Morstead is going to kick this thing, and it needs to happen at our sideline, right? Like, again, you're thinking about the human nature element of all of a sudden there's a scrum on the ground for the ball, and all the officials are over there prying bodies away, trying to see who has the ball. And if they're on the Saints sideline and everybody's going, Saints ball, Saints ball, Saints ball, if there's any type of a question, it's, hey, it's white ball, right? As opposed to that happens on the opposing sideline and they're just getting it from the other side. Maybe, the result's different.
We, speaking of results different, we talked to Jason Garrett last hour, and he said that he was there in Miami and having dinner. You and your wife thought that you were going to be going there. What I didn't understand is, okay, you had a shoulder injury, but they decided on Dante Culpepper, who also had a damaged knee. And they kind of bet on his knee over your shoulder?
Yeah, I remember everything about that trip to Miami. Again, like on paper, I'm coming off of the major shoulder injury. Not sure if I'm ever going to play football again, but hopeful. And it's the New Orleans Saints and the Miami Dolphins. On paper, this was the easiest decision in the world. It's the Miami Dolphins all the way. Nick Saban's the head coach. Has done an outstanding job of that defense, one of the best defenses in the league. Zach Thomas, Jason Taylor, like they had finished that last season, the previous season, winning 7 in a row. Really, the only question mark for their team was quarterback. They had skill position guys. Jason Garrett was the quarterback coach. Mike Mularkey was the OC. They were running the same offensive system that I was coming from in San Diego. On my recruiting trip there, we're eating dinner on Wayne Huizinga's yacht. And he's sitting there talking about how every summer we're going to go to Scotland and play golf. Me, you, and Dan. I'm like, Dan? They're like, yeah, Dan Marino. I'm like, oh, so Dan is like my mentor now? I mean, like, this is the greatest thing ever. State of Florida, no state income tax. I'm like, I mean, this is a no-brainer, right? But also on that trip, they put me through like this rigorous, health, inspection, basically like 6 hours of testing, contrast MRI tube, where I'm in the MRI tube literally for 2 hours. And they're trying to assess just the damage that was done to my shoulder and the chances of me being able to come back and be the same. I remember sticking these big needles in my arm to test my nerve endings. I mean, it was nuts. And at the end of the day, Nick Saban looked me in the eye and said, our doctors think you have a 25% chance of ever coming back and playing again. And I'm like, well, okay, I know what they say, but what do you think? He's like, I got to believe what the doctors are telling me, but, we still want you, but, it's, I'm just letting you know kind of, what's been said. And so I just really didn't get the feeling that they had a ton of faith or confidence in my ability to come back. So despite how good that visit was and how much respect I had for them and the organization and everything, the Saints was a totally different story from the perspective of, look, I mean, we know that city was destroyed, but Sean Payton and Mickey Loomis had just this unwavering belief in me to be their guy and to be a leader of that organization. It was going to be this collaboration, and I was going to have so much input. They were building this thing around me, and it was just that moment where I felt like I had the chance to be a part of something so much greater than football. I felt like it was God's calling in my life to be there, and so that's why we chose New Orleans.
Did the Saints not have an MRI machine? They didn't put you through the same test that the Dolphins did?
Apparently not. It was down.
Good for you.
I think it was a little bit, maybe it was like, ignorance is bliss. It was like, we don't want to know. We would rather not look at the images. We're just going to, maintain a ton of faith and hope that you're going to be okay.
Tell us what you're doing with the stretch zone effect.
Yeah, so Stretch Zone is a practitioner-led stretching brand, the fastest growing, largest in the country. It's been around since 2016. I've actually been a member since 2018. It was a big part of my routine towards the end of my career, just to help with my flexibility and mobility, which helps to generate power as a thrower and a rotational athlete. All the things that you would lose with the aging process, I was trying to stay ahead of and keep an edge with, to the point where I believed in it so much that when I got done playing, I ended up being an investor and ambassador sitting on the board for Stretch Zone, opening up franchises in Louisiana and Indiana. And it's amazing. Obviously, I know the impact it's had on me and my career and just my overall training and health. Anecdotally, so many people of our clients, our customers feel the same way. But now we're releasing a research study that has pretty amazing, results in regards to like the true benefits of practitioner-led stretching through Stretch Zone. Up to 90% of people feel more energy, have better range of motion, they sleep better, less pain, back pain, hamstring pain, wherever you might be experiencing it, and just being able to get back so many of the things that maybe they thought they had lost, but that practitioner-led stretching through Stretch Zone has been able to give back to them. So just an overall better quality of life.
Good for you. Congrats again. Always appreciate you joining us. Thank you, Drew.
You too, Dan. Thanks, man. Great seeing you.
Drew Brees. Now you can say first ballot Hall of Famer. It would matter to me. Now, I know you want to get in the Hall of Fame, but getting in with the first ballot designation, that all of a sudden, like Drew walks in 6'5", not 6 foot. Yeah, Seton.
Drew Brees, first team all DAP guy. One of the strongest DAPs in the league, for sure.
Really?
Yeah. Watch any video of him after a play or like in the locker room with some dudes. Super strong DAP game. Never a miss.
Always licking his fingers, though.
Yeah, but that's
Drew, the licking your fingers, did your wife ever say, will you stop it?
Yes. She's like, do you know where your hands have been as a quarterback? And I was like, yes, I'm sorry. It just became habit,
Did you ever do it around the house?
Some guys buckle their chin straps, like to lock in. I'm a finger licker.
Okay. Did you ever do it around the house?
Yes. See, that's the thing.
That's messed up.
No, when I get in an environment where I have to like flip the switch and go super focus mode, like you will see that. And I can't help it. I'm telling you, I can't help to the point where, my wife will be like, did you really just randomly lick your fingers? Like walking down the street. Like she'll go like, what are you thinking about? And I'm like, oh, I'm thinking about this. She's like, when you get laser focused, you just immediately go to the finger lick. That's like that's your mechanism.
How did you not get a Kentucky Fried Chicken deal?
That's a great question, Dan. We're on that.
Okay.
We're on that. I'm more of a Canes guy, but I'm
okay.
Yeah.
What about for Brees?
Yeah. Well, for Brees, we got Brees Airways.
Yeah.
There's a lot of directions we can go here.
I'm trying to help you.
Yeah, I know you're a creative marketing director.
All right, I'll let you go. That's I'll lick my fingers here. Drew Brees. Yeah. Yeah, he would always, you could tell, like they'd be getting a drive and, game on the line. All of a sudden, he'd be licking his fingers. I remember I'd always clean the bottom of my Converse when I was playing.
Yeah.
I'd always wipe them.
That's a big one.
Yeah. Yes, Todd.
I love when the interview is over and the guest sticks around
I know.
and he's overhearing what we're saying, and then all of a sudden there's a part 2 of the interview afterwards.
No, Mario does a great job that he likes to keep the guests there just in case we need to come back to them. All right, let's take a break. Last call for phone calls. What we learned. What's in store tomorrow after this?